Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving into something called Collocation Mastery. Basically, we're going to figure out exactly how to eliminate that clunky, unnatural phrasing that always seems to happen when you're trying to speak a new language. Okay, let's dive right in by having you just whisper to yourself the exact emotion you felt the last time your brain completely froze during a conversation with a native speaker. So why does your brain just freeze up mid-sentence? Look, the crucial point here is that this freezing isn't due to a lack of effort. Your brain is just trying to do way too much manual work at once. You know the vocabulary, you know the grammar, and so you think you can just snap the words together like some kind of math formula. But actually, thinking of language like a math formula is the exact reason you freeze. Your working memory, which is kind of like the short-term RAM on a computer, has super limited space. If you're trying to remember a grammar rule, dig around for a vocabulary word, and stress about your pronunciation all at the exact same time, your mental system simply crashes. We call this the walking dictionary syndrome. It's this incredibly frustrating disconnect, where you know all the rules perfectly on paper, but your brain's working memory just crashes from having way too many grammar and translation tabs open at the same time. You literally have all the raw data stored perfectly in your head, but because of that bottleneck in your memory, your mind goes totally blank when you're put on the spot. And look, you might think you just need a better brain or that you need to study harder, but you really don't. You just need to open fewer tabs. Native speakers don't have better brains than you. They just process the language entirely differently. They don't build sentences word by word. Think of it like building a house. If you build it word by word, you're exhaustingly cementing tiny vocabulary bricks together with all these complex grammar rules. Every single piece requires immense focus to line up straight. But instead of those tiny, slow bricks, native speakers process language using fast, effortless pre-made walls. These are ready-made chunks of language where the window is already installed, the wall is already painted, and you just drop the whole thing into place. Your brain does almost zero manual work because the chunk was already built perfectly. These pre-made walls are what linguists call collocations. Or honestly, a better term is just word friends. Actually, do me a favor, whisper the word collocation out loud right now just to lock it in. Over hundreds of years, native speakers have unconsciously agreed to pair certain words together, binding them by statistical probability in the brain. Understanding this concept is the absolute key to our entire explainer today. It's going to shift your focus away from rigid, stressful grammar rules and towards how words naturally just hang out together. So, let's test your brain's prediction machine right now. The human brain acts a lot like the predictive text on your smartphone, right? When it hears one word, it immediately expects its partner. So, speak out loud right now. Does your gut say we take a fast shower or a quick shower? Which one instantly feels more natural? If you said quick shower, you are absolutely spot on. Now, if we look at a dictionary, fast and quick mean the exact same thing, logically. But even though they mean the same thing, fast shower sounds like a clashing alarm bell to the native ear. It forces the listener's brain to stop and manually analyze the words, which creates this weird friction in the conversation. And honestly, this proves that logic is actually your enemy when learning how words naturally fit together. There's no grammar rule explaining this, it's purely just habit. And this brings us right to the trap of dictionary English. When you ignore these word friends and just pick words based on logic, you run into serious trouble. Take the classic phrase, holy cow. Imagine a student perfectly translates holy to divine because they mean the same thing in the dictionary, and they confidently say, divine cow. I mean, it's wonderfully creative, but they end up sounding like a robot reading a textbook. It's like wearing a striped shirt with polka dot pants. Both are totally fine individually, but put them together and they completely clash. This clashing usually comes from mother tongue interference. Basically, when you directly translate a chunk from your native language straight into English. One of the most classic battles for learners is between make and do. In a lot of languages, they're the exact same word, so learners logically try to say, do a mistake. But in English, the noun mistake absolutely demands to hold hands with the verb make. To beat that interference, you have to abandon direct translation entirely and just memorize the exact chunk. Repeat after me out loud with confidence. I made a big mistake. And then we have prepositions. Little words like in, on, for, from, they caused huge headaches because, let's be real, they rarely make logical sense. But if you think of them as the permanent glue inside a collocation, it gets so much easier. Prepositions act as the glue inside a package deal, meaning words like depend and on must always be memorized and stored together as a single unit. If your native language translates the concept to depend from, you just have to abandon it. In English, you don't listen music, you listen to music. You're interested in something, not interested for it. Learn the whole phrase as a pre-made wall, and you'll literally never have to worry about preposition grammar rules again. Okay, we need to clear up a massive misconception here. A lot of learners waste hundreds of hours on idioms, like raining cats and dogs, thinking that's the absolute secret to sounding native. But idioms are essentially just secret cultural codes where the literal words give you zero clues about the meaning. Think of idioms as just decorative wallpaper, whereas literal collocations like heavy rain are the solid drywall you actually need to build your language house. Focus your energy on the transparent, everyday word friends first. Leave the decorative wallpaper for later. Now let's talk about register, which really just means reading the room to match how formal or casual you need to be. If you're with a friend, you've naturally used the everyday casual chunk, get off the bus. But an official printed sign on that very same bus might use a highly formal collocation like alight from the vehicle. Reading the room is absolutely crucial, because seriously, turning to your best friend and casually saying, "Let us alight from the bus," will make you sound like a cartoon king. You have to match your pre-made walls to the real-world situation you're actually standing in. So how do you actually find these true native shortcuts instead of just guessing? Well, linguists use something called a corpus. A corpus is a gigantic computer database containing over 1 billion real-world words. Yes, 1 billion. Pulled from actual books, news articles, academic journals, and transcripts of real everyday spoken conversations. It's essentially a digital map of the native speaker's brain. It shows us the exact mathematical probability of which words like to hang out together in the real world. But obviously, you can't just sit down and read a billion-word database yourself. Instead, you use free statistical dictionaries, tools like the Oxford Collocations Dictionary, Sketch Engine, Just the Word, or NetSpeak. Unlike a normal dictionary that just tells you what a tiny isolated brick means, these tools instantly scan that billion-word corpus to tell you exactly who a word's best friends are. If you type in the word attention, it mathematically proves that the verb pay always sits perfectly next to it, confirming for sure that pay attention is the correct pre-made wall. But here's the thing. Tools are only helpful if you change how you learn. You need to radically change your notes by building a personal phrase bank. First step, stop writing down single translated words. If you just write down the word decision, your brain is going to forget the verb by tomorrow. Instead, create a phrase bank on your phone and write down only full pre-made chunks, like make a tough decision. By writing the words holding hands, you're ensuring your brain stores everything as one pre-made unit. You're capturing vocabulary, grammar, and context all at once. Of course, understanding this passively just isn't enough. To get these phrases out of the database and onto your tongue, you must physicalize them. You need to physically speak them out loud alone for 10 minutes a day. Why alone? Because it completely removes the social pressure. When you're by yourself in the car or the shower, you can't be judged, so your anxiety totally vanishes. You're simply training your lips, tongue, and vocal cords to build the physical muscle memory required for actual fluency. And honestly, the absolute best topic for this 10-minute habit is your morning routine. Describing your daily morning routine out loud is perfect because the story is identical every single day. Since you don't have to think about what happens next, it completely frees your brain to focus 100% of its energy on mastering the word friends. You wake up early, make a pot of coffee, take a hot shower, check your emails, catch the morning bus. Repeating these chunks out loud daily builds incredible momentum. Let's start building that critical fluency muscle right this second. Think about the very first thing you consume in the morning. Try saying a full chunk out loud to the room right now. Whether you make a pot of coffee or drink a glass of water, just do it. By physically saying it, you are actively wiring that combination of words directly into your nervous system, completely bypassing that slow, exhausting translation process. Once you get comfortable with the basics, you can start grouping word friends into simple grammatical recipes. This upgrades your vocabulary instantly. So instead of using basic words like a very bad problem, an adjective plus noun recipe gives you a major problem. A verb plus adverb gives you whisper softly. An adverb plus adjective gives you the beautifully complex, blissfully unaware. These simple recipes replace basic, overused words with authoritative, professional combinations that make you sound incredibly fluent. I'll leave you with this final provocative thought.
We've seen today that the human brain naturally processes language through chunks, patterns, and statistical probability, not through isolated words or abstract grammar math. So if our brains are biologically wired to learn through chunks and pre-made walls, why are traditional education systems built completely backward? Seriously, your struggles with English are absolutely not your fault, because you were constantly handed tiny, exhausting bricks when you should have been given pre-made walls. Focus on the word friends, trust the chunks, and let your brain do what it does best.